In today's video, we look at a man who was not just a smuggler, but a master strategist who built a multi-million-pound smuggling empire that spanned several countries. With help and contacts from his cousin Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh, who was an enforcer to the Irish mob family, the Byrne Organised Crime Group, a branch of the Kinahans crime organisation, James Mulvey would cleverly exploit legitimate business channels to launder money and move Class A and B product, making his operation one of the most formidable in recent history. We take a look at the case, his tactics of evasion, and the extensive National Crime Agency efforts that led to a manhunt of James Mulvey and a strange falling out with the Kinahans cartel, which led to paranoia that Mulvey thought they was going to kill him. We look at the mistakes and his ultimate downfall. James Mulvey was from Solihull in the West Midlands of England. His early years were nothing special. He had a few run-ins with the police, but after leaving school he ventured into the haulage industry, becoming a driver and then establishing himself as a legitimate businessman with his own haulage firm. However, being legit would not last long. With high fuel prices, maintaining heavy goods vehicles, the constant headache of the taxman, and fighting cheaper competitors, he was barely making a profit. This is where his cousin Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh came in, an enforcer to the Byrne Organised Crime Group, a branch of the Kinahans crime organisation. But he also worked for the Kinahans cartel as an enforcer. He opened Mulvey's eyes to the money others were making importing Class A and Class B. What Mulvey had not realised, his company, though breaking even, was established and would not be flagging on any trips abroad. His expertise in logistics and transportation provided the perfect cover for his soon-to-be clandestine operation. Growing up in the era of increasing globalisation and trade, Mulvey recognised the potential to exploit supply chains for illegal activities. He started building connections with other criminals involved in international dealing, enabling him to gain access to large quantities of Class A and Class B, and distribution networks across Europe. Mulvey was helped by Thomas Bomber Kavanagh, who ran the Kinahans criminal operations in the UK. Between 2006 and 2007, Mulvey, with the connections he made with the Kinahans cartel, masterminding a smuggling operation of unprecedented scale. Utilising hollow industrial metal rollers, products were concealed and transported across international borders. The modus operandi involved shipping these rollers from Belgium through England and into the Republic of Ireland. The choice of the industrial rollers was a sound one, as their bulky and innocuous appearance made them less likely to arouse suspicion during transit. In its detailed planning, the product comprising both Class A and Class B were tightly packed within the hollow cavities of the rollers. These rollers were then loaded onto trucks, often passing through legitimate haulage routes. The journey would typically commence in Belgium, with the cargo making its way through England, with some shipments destined for the Republic of Ireland. This intricate route was designed to exploit the busy nature of the European trade routes, thereby minimising the chances of detection. The scale of the operation was staggering. With the money rolling in, Mulvey acquired bigger premises in Birmingham for his firm JBS Transport. Life was on the up, money was rolling in, but he still needed to have legit loads going through the books. So while he was making a fortune, he was constantly working. He bought a couple of other haulage businesses, just in case to redirect any attention. These companies stayed straight and legit for the moment. As more and more products of Class A and Class B got shipped through, he used coded language, burner phones and encrypted communication methods to coordinate his associates. It made it difficult for law enforcement to track his movements. The Kinahans cartel were extremely impressed with his business acumen, and Mulvey would front businesses that would be a laundry for the Irish mob money. With even more money rolling in, he would buy property across the UK and Europe. High-end cars, clothing. He had a love of designer watches, new and old. A love of collecting Rolex Submariner and Sea Dweller watches. Mulvey developed a habit of vertute, blowing easily £1,000 a week on it, and even that was increasing. But the thing he could not wait to get finished was his villa in Spain, that he had built from scratch. An opulent does nothing to even describe it. He paid the extras to get in double the builders, and paid extra for them to postpone other contracts. They had to get it completed quicker. In the end, it would put movie stars, A-listers and music mogul villas to shame. With indoor and outdoor pools, the £1.5 million Spanish villa also boasted a cinema. He started a car dealers selling cars in Ireland, and this was also to launder money, with phantom cars that never existed, and being a cash-heavy business at the time was perfect to rinse cash by writing cars up and down. With the money, he'd buy property or send it to banks in tax havens. He would set up trusts and use these to put his 5 kids through private schools. Mulvey would start to use his smaller haulage firm also. Mulvey's right-hand man, Barry Phipps, used fake names to arrange collection of the loaded rollers where the product was stashed. The Kinahan Organised Crime Group, also known as the Kinahan Cartel, is a criminal organisation that operates in Ireland, the UK, Spain and the United Arab Emirates. The Kinahan Cartel has been involved in a bloody gangland feud with the Hutch gang since 2015. Christy Kinahan served as a direct leader of the organisation up until the position was passed on to his son, Daniel Kinahan. The Hutch-Kinahan feud began with the murder of Gary Hutch, who was the nephew of Jerry the Monk Hutch, the leader of the Hutch crime syndicate. At the time of his death, Gary Hutch was a well-known criminal in Dublin. He had previously been convicted of armed robbery, and after his release from prison he moved to Spain. He lived there for 8 years prior to his death, unarmed at the time of his killing. He is reported to have pleaded for his life before being shot by his killer. On the 9th of October 2015, 2 weeks after Gary Hutch was murdered, his younger brother Derek Dalboy Hutch was stabbed while serving a sentence for murder in Mountjoy Prison. A €10,000 bounty had been put on him by Christy Kinahan. He survived the attack. On 30th December, Darren Kearns, an associate of the Hutches, was shot dead in front of his wife, shortly after he left the Phoenix Chinese restaurant on Black Horse Avenue. He had convictions for dealing and spent time in prison. It's thought the Kearns and another gang member are responsible for a botched attempt on the lives of Kinahan gang members. 2016 was the bloodiest year of the feud, with 10 people being killed that year, 6 of whom were killed in the first 6 months of the year. Of the dead, 6 were associated with the Hutch gang, 1 with the Kinahans, and 2 were innocent men killed in a case of mistaken identity. On the 5th of February 2016, a WBO boxing match for the European lightweight title was to take place at the Regency Hotel in Whitehall, Dublin. At the weigh-in there was an organised armed attack. The match was cancelled after the shooting. There was at least 4 attackers wearing masks and army-style helmets and flak jackets. 2 were disguised as members of a police emergency response unit and armed with AK-47s. An associate of the Kinahan cartel, David Byrne, was shot dead. Security sources said that the gang had intended to kill others. This led to the retaliation of more murders from the Kinahan cartel. The feud has resulted in the deaths of at least 18 people, mostly in Dublin, but also in other parts of Ireland and Spain. The majority of the murders were committed by the Kinahan family. In 2007, Mulvey and his association with the Kinahan cartel was running strong. Mulvey and his own men were running a large-scale operation to bring contraband from Belgium across to England before moving it on to Ireland. As I mentioned earlier, the products Class A and Class B were stuffed inside hollow industrial metal rollers on the backs of lorries. The illicit cargo passed through Mulvey's smaller haulage yard in the sleepy village of Inkborough, Worcestershire. After many successful trips, things would start to go wrong, with an eagle-eyed Belgian warehouse worker who spotted the same rollers were returning to the depot. A shipment of 20 kilograms of Class A, 364 kilograms of Class B, and 10 kilograms of cutting agent was seized. It is estimated over 15 trips in total, Mulvey had smuggled up to £68 million worth of product through the route. British law enforcement was informed once the England connection was uncovered, and in 2007, the rollers were seized by Irish police on an industrial estate in Dublin. Several people were arrested in connection who worked for Mulvey, with transporting and handling the product, including lorry driver Geoffrey Edwards, who was sentenced to 20 years. His wife Tina Edwards also got a jail term of 15 years. Transport manager Barry Phipps was sentenced to 25 years. John Gilbert and David Cullen were each jailed for 14 years. The police wanted more evidence, not just to convict Mulvey, they wanted the people he worked for. Sensing the tightening of the noose, Mulvey fled to his villa in Spain, establishing a base, he still had many of the legit companies he was laundering money through, plus offshore havens where he'd been hiding his millions. Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh, the cousin of Mulvey, and a key enforcer with strong ties to the Kinahan cartel. He was responsible for overseeing security and collecting debt. Gerard Kavanagh and his brother Paul were considered key enforcers and money collectors for the Kinahan cartel, before a bit of dispute over cash that a trafficker was attempting to pay back to the gang. The cartel became suspicious that the Kavanagh brothers, in particular Paul, were collecting cash from the trafficker but not passing on the money to the crime syndicate. The mistrust over the brothers' involvement in taking those payments came just months after Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh was suspected of stealing Class A shipment from a Liverpool-based gang. For the first time in years, there was deep internal tensions in the Kinahan cartel, and this could only lead to one thing. On Saturday, September 6, 2014, it was a typically sunny evening on Spain's Costa del Crime. Gerard Hatchet Kavanagh arrived at Harmon's Irish Bar to meet an associate. It's believed he had no idea of the danger he was in as he walked into the pub. Two gunmen shot Kavanagh 9 times on the terrace of the bar before making their getaway in a BMW X3, which they later torched outside the supermarket about 5 minutes away. Spanish police are thought to have been unable to recover any of the fingerprint evidence from the murder weapons that were found in the killer's stolen car after it was doused with petrol and set alight. 6 months after the murder of his brother, Paul Kavanagh was killed in a ruthless attack as he sat in his Volkswagen Passat. Paul Kavanagh is believed to have been under surveillance by a 2-man hit squad who riddled him with bullets. It quickly emerged that Paul Kavanagh's fate was sealed after the trafficker was summoned to a meeting with senior members of the Kinahan cartel. At the meeting, it emerged that the trafficker had been giving money to Kavanagh to pay to the crime syndicate, but in turn, they was not passing it on to the bosses. The trafficker was able to show the cartel damning texts which revealed he'd been paying the money back and had been handing envelopes of cash to Paul Kavanagh for a number of months. With his older brother Hatchet murdered for ripping off the Liverpool gang and pocketing the proceeds, it is understood that the cartel moved quickly and Paul Kavanagh's daylight execution was ordered and meticulously planned. As you can imagine, this greatly shook Mulvey and the stress was getting to him. In a tapped phone call by the National Crime Agency, Mulvey accused Bomber of sanctioning the hit on his cousin Gerard Kavanagh. Mulvey referred to Bomber as Specky, said 1,000,000% he was up for it. 1,000,000% he set it up. Yeah, if he knew where Gerard was, he's a lying C. The way he texted me there, I've known him since I was 20. He was explaining he didn't know where Gerard was, but he knew full well where he was. He was just doing a shake round. In another recorded call, Mulvey added, Thomas is going to get a lot of flack over this, isn't he? And Thomas doesn't know who he was. I can't believe that. He knows everyone, they're that effing big. Someone must have known he was down there, someone close. It's going to cause problems. Someone set him up. He was set up big time. He very rarely went down there. He's an easy target down there, isn't he? At the end of the day, Thomas will have to watch his own back as well. Thomas could have stopped it and told everyone, listen, leave the sea. But in another secret recorded call, Mulvey showed no compassion for his cousin when he said, I don't give an F. He robbed me of 750k. He got his comeuppance. I'm not being funny. He's done no favours for me. He called me an effing rat. He caused me trouble. He robbed me. As far as I'm concerned, karma comes round. He took sides with other people calling me a rat. All I did was stand up for him. I'm not going to slag the bloke. I'm sorry to hear he's gone. Mulvey also said he never phoned me once. These people are calling me an effing rat. In another call, Mulvey spoke of his associates about 4 bosses when he first joined the gang. The bosses were Mulvey, Hatchet, Bomber, and a mystery man who had been killed. The National Crime Agency has never been able to establish who the mystery boss was. He never came up in any tape recordings or intelligence gathered. In a recorded call, Mulvey revealed how Daniel Kinahan expressed concern that he was a rat. Mulvey also made reference to David Blinky Duffy, who was a key lieutenant for Bomber Kavanagh, and is now serving 5 years for his role in a botched hit to kill Hutch associate James Gately in April 2017. Anxious Mulvey told his associate stories from other people like Blinky who weren't even family, people believed the stupid poxy story. Mulvey was terrified of being whacked and tried to work his way back into the Kinahans' favour. He transferred €155,000 from Mauritius to senior Kinahan member Sean McGovern, so he could buy his pad in South Dublin. Using a personal trust fund entitled Buell State Foundation, Mulvey claimed the payment to McGovern was provided for the purpose of real estate in Ireland. This was a loan that was not to be paid back and written off. Mulvey was so paranoid after the murder of Hatchet Kavanagh, he was in fear of the Kinahan cartel because he knew how dangerous they were. He was willing to pay for McGovern's house because he had an association going back a number of years. With police launching arrest warrants, Mulvey fled. His life on the run was characterised by constant movement and deliberate effort to remain under the radar. To evade detection, Mulvey adopted a transient lifestyle, rarely staying in one location for extended periods. He frequently checked into luxury hotels, settling bills in cash to avoid leaving a financial trail. Communication was conducted through disposable burner phones to thwart surveillance efforts. He was living off the money in his offshore accounts in jurisdictions like the Isle of Man, Monaco and Mauritius. This nomadic existence earned him the moniker of the Ghost among law enforcement circles. He used fake identities and moved freely across countries. Despite his efforts to remain elusive, the National Crime Agency and its international counterparts remained resolute in their pursuit. In the pursuit of James Mulvey, the National Crime Agency spearheaded a 2-year investigation, collaborated with agencies from countries including Spain, Portugal, Brazil, the Republic of Ireland and Lithuania. This extensive network pooled resources and intelligence to track Mulvey's movements across borders. Undercover agents, surveillance footage and informants played crucial roles in piecing together Mulvey's activities. Intelligence sharing between European law enforcement agencies allowed authorities to trace financial transactions linked to Mulvey's empire by analysing bank records, offshore accounts and wire transfers. They gradually built a case against him. In March 2017, the net finally closed in. Acting on intelligence, special forces apprehended Mulvey in Lithuania. The arrest was executed with precision, reflecting the high stakes involved in capturing the fugitive of his calibre. Following his arrest, Mulvey was extradited to the United Kingdom to face charges related to his smuggling activities. The trial of James Mulvey commenced at Birmingham Crown Court, leading to his conviction in June 2018. He was found guilty on multiple counts, including conspiracy to import and export Class A and B product. The court proceedings shed a light on the inner workings of his smuggling operation, revealing the elaborate network of couriers, financial operatives, and enforcers that facilitated his enterprise. Prosecutors presented evidence detailing his use of offshore bank accounts, coded communications, and bribed officials, all of which played crucial roles in maintaining the secrecy and efficiency of his operations. The trial also exposed how Mulvey leveraged corrupt contacts with the custom agencies to bypass inspections and ensure the smooth transit of product. Law enforcement authorities compiled an overwhelming case against him, ultimately leading to his conviction. Evidence presented during the trial included covert recordings, financial records, surveillance footage, and testimonies from former associates. These pieces of evidence painted a comprehensive picture of Mulvey's operations and his role as the linchpin of the smuggling network. The court heard how he bought Class A and B product and orchestrated their concealment within industrial rollers and managed their distribution across multiple countries. Testimonies detailed how Mulvey's influence extended beyond logistics. Financial records showed a complex web of offshore accounts and shell companies used to launder millions of pounds in contraband profits, further illustrating the depth of his criminal enterprise. In sentencing Mulvey to 32 years in prison, the presiding judge remarked on the sophistication and scale of the operation. The sentence reflected the severity of his crimes and served as a deterrent for others involved in similar activities. His conviction marked one of the most significant smuggling busts of all time. James Mulvey's story is one of ambition, greed, and eventual downfall. His ability to exploit legitimate business channels for illicit activities made him one of the most elusive criminals in the European smuggling trade. Teaming up with big firms, though, can be a danger. when Daniel Kinahan thought Mulvey was a rat from information that was in his inner circle. Mulvey's fears were real and justified. Though extremely rich, what's the point when every day could be your last? Living in a prison cell, gunned down having lunch, or buried on wasteland somewhere. Mulvey's arrest and conviction serve as a stark reminder of the long arm of justice and the risk associated with a life of crime. Proceeds of crime are picking apart the money trail through the crumbled ruins of Mulvey's once successful empire.